So I'm about to add foundation to a super frame, and so this is the SN4. So it's got the Hoffman type wider spacing, so it gives you a bee space. So the process for that, we're going to take the frame. I've got my nails decanted into a little Tupperware tub, so they're easier to grab onto. I need my hive tool. I've got this one here. It's handy to have that one with the scraper on it. I've got a pair of pliers here in case a nail doesn't quite go straight or I need to adjust things. I've got a little hammer here. This is one I made when I was in school. And this little hammer I use for tapping in the nails. And I've got something to hook the wires that we'll need then when we get them further in. So these are second frames, so you need to give them a good check over before as you work. So they've been picked as being imperfect by the manufacturer. So they're a little bit cheaper, but they do fine, I find. So what I get is I get my hive tool, and I get it in the end, and there's less strength in the wood in the little cut bit there, and you can twist your hive tool and it opens up like that, and that allows you to take that little bead off, and we'll use that later to hold the frame in. So next thing I'm doing, I'm just planing the little edge that's on there. It's easier. No, that's not quite working so well. So this is where I find this hook handy, because you can stick it in where the groove of the foundation is going to go, and you can use it to lever that little edge of wood off there, and it just means that there's less to when you're tightening up your foundation in your frame, it's actually buttoned up against the foundation and not the little edge of wood that's been left when you broke it clear. No. So that's that one clear. The other thing I'm going to check is that the grooves are clear here. I think this frame looks okay. Sometimes you'll find that there's a little bit of the groove needs to be cleared, and a hive tool is just about the right width just to clear that with the sharp edge of it. So that's me ready to go. So the next thing I'll do, this is I don't mind. Sometimes I buy my foundation from Thorns, and sometimes I buy it from Simon the Beekeeper. I think I've had some from some other beekeeping supplies as well, but it all seems to be okay. I buy the wired foundation. You can see the wires in there. Sometimes the bees don't like to draw the comb where the wire is, but it's much easier to have the wired foundation for this part of the job, because it's just got a little bit more strength and stability. And I feel with our short season up here that with more support we give the bees to get their comb drawn, and the more time and energy they can spend on pulling in nectar and converting it into honey. So there we go. So what I'm doing is I'm just pulling it here at the wire still, and then it slips in like that. And then this is where I need my Allen key, and I just slip that in, and I brace the foundation with my thumb, and I just pull the hook of the little loop of the wire frame, so that eventually that little 90-degree angle there will be where I will be aiming my nails, so that they can just fit inside that little loop. It's on there, and the nails will go in there ideally. So I've got a little bit of a loop sticking out there. I'm just bending that over. And then I've got my frame here. There's the little sharp edge there that was just broken off. So I'm going to have that now turning, that pointing, well, up the way for me, but eventually that will be pointing down the way towards, because my frame is obviously upside down. It will be in the hive like that. So I'll push this in, and then what I'm doing is I'm just making sure that the foundation is snug and flush. And then the first thing, I get my nail. I put my nail in the centre, but I'm sure it doesn't matter that much how you start. But generally, with any type of fixings, if you start from one place and work away from the bit that's been attached, then there's less chances of it not fitting so well. So some people just push the nail in, but I like to hold on to it and just give it a little tap. That's the first one. And then the next one. I did try this with gloves on, but these nails are so small, you kind of need your dexterity. I also discovered that it's a good idea to have a board of wood on your table, because you'll discover that some of these nails are just a wee bit on the long side. So you're best to have something that can deal with a little bit of a nail hole arriving in it. So that's it. So you can then see that we have these nail holes here that we will just grind off. So we'll get that so that it's nice and trim. So that's our next stage in the process. So next part, we are over here at the grinder here. You could use a file or you could use an angle grinder, but I have a buff in my little workshop, so that's the best one for me. Obviously got my glasses on for the sparks. When you're doing this type of job, it's safer. And what I'm aiming for is to grind that down so it's flush with the wood, so that you don't cut your fingers on it when you're working in it there. So you don't want any sharp bits on there. So when you're doing your extraction or manipulating the frames. So that's the next part. Just feeling it to see that there's nothing catching. You have to be wary that give it enough time to cool. And that's your super ready to go into the super box. That's a super frame ready to go in the super box. And it's best to store them vertical, because if you store them on the side, they tend to relax and bow out. And what you're really looking for is an even amount of drawn comb on either side, so that there is the same amount of honey on either side of the frame. And that makes it nice and straight for extraction, which is really, the bees will sort it out themselves, but it's very handy for us beekeepers. And then I just store them in a frame there, like that, and that's ready for the next time when we need it in season. If we feel it's a little bit pale, we can give them a little bit of a warm up with a hairdryer, and that just refreshes them if you're gentle with that.